Fire in the hole! Let's cook some Lomo Al Trappo. Stay tuned, you're gonna love this one. Hello and welcome once again to my backyard grill. What I'm doing today is I'm making some Lomo Al Trappo. Now if you don't know what that is, let me show you this. This is a boneless beef Chateaubriand that I got at Wild Fork Foods. This is the most expensive piece of meat I've ever purchased in my whole life. I'm not going to tell you what it costs. If you really want to know, you can message me and I'll tell you. Let me just say it's the most expensive piece of meat I've ever dealt with in my whole life. And we're going to cook this. We're going to wrap it in a cloth. I have this cloth right here. And what I'm going to do with this cloth is I'm going to pour some red wine on it. Now, I'm not going to sing, Craig, don't worry about it. Red wine. We're going to soak this cloth with some red wine like that, because we're going to use this cloth. I had probably just enough red wine in my bottle to soak the cloth with red wine. I guess you see that, right? Yeah, we had just enough. In fact, it's perfect amount of wine to soak the cloth with. So what we got to do next is let's soak up all that wine. I should wring that out, but I don't think I'm gonna. I'm gonna get this spread out on my sheet. I'll try to give you a little bit better view of this. We're gonna wrap this thing in this cloth and some salt and some spices, and we're gonna make a Lomo Al Trappo, which means trapped, or trappo means rag, actually. So it's a beef tenderloin cooked in a rag, a wine-soaked rag. Stay tuned, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I've got my wine-soaked cloth spread out on here. What we got to do now is put some salt on there, a lot of salt. We're going to pour, I've got some sea salt here. We're going to make a crust of salt on this thing. We got to put, this is a pound of salt right here. I'll probably wind up using the whole pound of salt, maybe more, because we have to crust this beef in salt. Now it looks like a pound's going to do it, I think. Looks like a pound's going to be enough. Maybe not. I'll probably have to use the other pound. Put a little bit of the other pound on there in a minute. But first, let's put some spices on there. So I've got my salt there. I've got some Tango Spice porchetta rub, which I really love. I'm going to put some on the meat too. But I'm going to sprinkle some of that porchetta rub right on top of that salt. That's one of my favorite Tango spices. And I got some Rome is Burning. That's my other favorite Tango spice. I'm going to sprinkle some of that on there. I'm going to put some of this on the meat too after I get it on the salt. What we got to do is pack the meat in salt, wrap it in this towel, and we're going to cook it directly on the coals. That's why I'm using Prime 6 charcoal that I got from my buddy Rob's channel. If you go over to, I'll give you a link to the Prime 6 charcoal. If you want to try some, they're having a 20% discount, and I think you can use Rob's promo code to make that happen. So anyway, yeah, check out the link in the description. And if you want some Tango Spice, if you're a subscriber, leave me a thumbs up and a comment on this video. I'll give away some Tango Spice. Okay, so now I'll get my Lomo, which is a beef Chateaubriand, right there. On top of that, all that salt. I'm going to get some more salt on top of him. And I'm going to put some spices on him first, I think. First we're going to put some Rome is Burning on top of him. Like that. I want that to contact the meat, not so much the salt. And I'm going to put a little bit of that porchetta rub. Porchetta rub is amazing. I love it. Tango Joe outdone himself. Then I'm going to put some salt on the meat. I want to make sure that this thing gets crusted in salt. The whole cooking method depends on a crust of salt wrapping around the meat and making it cook inside the salt. So anyway, we're going to pull this up here like this, and then I'm going to start to wrap this thing in salt. And we've got this wine-soaked towel, which I got to turn the edges up like that, and we're going to keep going, keep a going. The train kept rolling all night long. No, you shouldn't sing. Should not sing, Root Boy. You've been told. You've been warned. Okay, let's keep going though. Let's keep it going. I'm gonna flare my thing out like that. Get it rolled up like that. There you go. Lomo Al Trappo. Now, I gotta tie that thing off with some butcher's twine. And then when the charcoal gets hot, we're going to throw that right on the hot coals. So let me get it tied off. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll throw it on the hot coals. So stay tuned. My Lomo Al Trappo is trussed and ready to go on the hot fire as soon as I get the fire the way I want it. And we're going to take an instant read thermometer and check the internal temperature of that meat as it cooks. We don't want it to get above 100 degrees because after it's cooked, we're going to let it rest. And the carryover cooking is we're going to bring it up to a beautiful medium rare. You don't want to ruin this expensive piece of meat, so stay tuned. That Prime 6 charcoal is nicely ashed over and it's getting really hot. I'm going to put my Lomo Al Trappo right on top, just like that. It's going to cook there for about 5 minutes. Then we'll flip it over, cook it on the other side for about 5 minutes. Then we'll do the corners for about 5 minutes, and this thing will be ready to crack open and take a taste of. So stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the longest 10 minutes of my life. I'm not kidding. I can't wait to cut into this thing and see how I did, to see if I passed the Pitmaster test right here. Cut that string off there. Ah, yes. Got to cut these strings. Oh boy. I can feel that salt is crusted in there really hard. And I tested the temperature with my thermopop, and it's kind of got inconsistent results. It's kind of high in some places and low in others, but now we'll see what happens. What's the worst that could happen is, you know, I'll just eat this whole thing by myself. I'm not going to throw it away, I can tell you that. Not for what this cost. Okay. Alright, let's get the wrap off of that. I think I got all the string off of it. The string is like stuck to it. So's the cloth that it was in. Let's get that off of there if we can. Oh yeah, it burnt through a little bit right there. But I think that's okay. Because don't worry, the salt was crusting it, and there it is. There it is. It broke the salt crust. We're just going to scrape off some of that excess salt. It smells really good. I'm just going to scrape off some of that salt, knock some of that off of there. Get it on my cutting board. I'm going to cut right into the middle of that puppy. See how it looks. Oh baby, does that look good. Man alive. Let me get a beer out here. Let me show you what that looks like. Let me get a beer out here. We'll drink a beer and take a taste of this Lomo Al Trappo. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lomo Al Trappo is done. There's the Frosty Root Boy Mug star of the show, and here's today's beer. Lagunitas Stereophonic IPA. It's got Nelson Sauvin hops and Mosaic hops. That's what they're referring to in the stereophonic part of this. They're saying that the hops are coming at you from both sides. That sounds like my kind of beer. I'm sorry, Rob. Sorry, buddy. Lagunitas is one of my favorite breweries, and you know I love a good hoppy ale. Let's tilt that glass and pour that out. Oh man, don't want to overfoam. Be careful, careful. Don't overfoam. All right, perfect pour. Almost. Lagunitas Stereophonic. Woohoo! I can't wait to smell the hops in this thing. It's got two different kinds of hops. Stereophonic. I kind of botched the pour a little bit, let's face it. But let me smell that anyway, Rob. Oh man, I don't know. That smells great. Is that my timer going off? Too late now. It's in my pocket. Anyway, Rob, let's quaff the froth off of that. And then I got to get some of that Lomo in my mouth. That's delicious. That is excellent. That's not really a pale ale. It says IPA, but it's not very pale. And it's very, very delicious. Hey, let's get some of this Lomo over here. Get my stuff out of the way here. Oh man, see if it was worth it. See if it was worth all that trouble to go to for this piece of expensive meat. Let me get a slice of that puppy in my mouth right here, right now. Slicing now. Okay, look at that. Nice and juicy. And you know it's going to be tender because it's a beef tenderloin, Chateaubriand. I can't wait to eat this. Oh. Unbelievably tender, delicious. If you think it's too salty, it's not. Not at all. It's wonderful. Well, I'm calling this experiment a success. And you know what made it good? The tango spice. That aroma's burning. It's got the heat. And the porchetta rub. Just amazing. An amazing piece of meat. Very expensive. Normally you would cut this into filet mignon and fry it. Or you would wrap it in mushrooms and pastry and make beef Wellington. But today we made Lomo Al Trappo. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Tell you what, babies. That's my video. This is the most expensive piece of meat I've ever cooked in my life. And it's delicious. You can do this if you follow the steps I outlined. Maybe. It's not easy. And it kept me up all night. But I got it done and it looks delicious. I'll tell you what. It looks and tastes delicious. Hey, come back next week. We may not cook anything good, but we will drink a beer. And this Lagunitas stereohopic. I made a mistake. It's stereohopic. Is amazing. All right, babies. We'll see you next week. Bye.